So here is the approach I want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about Form W-8BEN-E, we are speaking about a certificate of status of beneficial owner for United States tax withholding and reporting entities. So here's how the form looks like. I want you to look right now on the screen. So you have the first part one, you have line one, you have the name of the organization that is the beneficial owner. And line two, this is where you actually put the country of incorporation or organization. So for our hypothetical example here, we are choosing the UK as our site, or as our geography for incorporation. And if there is a difference between the name of the organization that is the beneficial owner and the name of the disregarded entity receiving the payments, then so between 1 and 3, you have to put that. So we put here Sweaty Kiwi and Sweaty Kiwi Ventures respectively. And line 4, we actually checked no at the end. So you have to see what really works for you. If your organization is a simple trust, a central bank of issue, a grantor trust, a tax exempt organization, and so on and so forth. So that's for the first screenshot. The second screenshot here, line 5, we actually chose we checked the first one, a participating FFI. FFI means a foreign financial institution. So this is really something you have to really see if it works for whatever box applies to your situation. Okay, so line 5 is pretty comprehensive. You have nearly 25 to 30 boxes to actually check and see which one applies to your situation. And line 6 here, you have to put the permanent resident address. So this is one of those things where the IRS wants to know exactly what kind of a geography we're speaking about. Do not use the PO box, okay? And you can use a virtual mailbox, by the way. And then at the bottom here, you have to put the city or town, the zip code and whatever, and also the country. And so if the mailing address is different from the permanent resident address, you have to include that here. But make sure that whatever information you put here is pretty accurate, because the IRS is going to follow up. They're going to follow up. They might send some documentation to that address to make sure it really does exist. So this is really important. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. Next, I want to show you a series of snapshots to illustrate what W-8BEN looks like. Okay, we're going to have a lot of snapshots. So I'm not going to waste too much time here. So the first snapshot is here. So part 1. So we are speaking about the identification of the beneficial owner. One thing I want to tell you here is that if you want to, you can stop the video, hit the pause button to see if to really dig a little deeper on a specific screenshot. So part 2 is a disregarded entity or branch receiving payments. Next, I want to show you the part 3. So part 3 is a claim of tax treaty benefits, if this is applicable, of course. And part 4 is a sponsored FFI. Once again, an FFI means a foreign financial institution. Moving on, we have part 5 here. So this is a certified, deemed compliant, non-registering local bank. If you have any question, please let us know in the comment section. We'll certainly get back to you. Then part 6, you have certified, deemed compliant FFI with only low value accounts. Part 7, a certified, deemed compliant, sponsored, closely held investment vehicle. The next screenshot here. So part 8, certified, deemed compliant, limited life debt investment entity. Part 9, certain investment entities that do not maintain financial accounts. And part 10, owner documented FFI. So I'm just showing you those screenshots so you have a clear idea what a Form W-8BEN-E looks like. We keep moving. So part 10 again, we have an owner documented FFI. We move on to part 11. This is about a restricted distributor. And we have a part 12, non-reporting IGA FFI. Part 13, foreign government of a U.S. possession or foreign bank or foreign central bank of issue. Part 14, we have international organization. Part 15, we have exempt retirement plans. Part 15, again, we have exempt retirement plans. So this is continued. This is a long form, by the way. Part 16, you have an entity wholly owned by exempt beneficial owners. Part 17, territory financial institutions, a TFI. Part 18, accepted non-financial group entity. Part 19, accepted non-financial startup company. And Part 20, accepted non-financial entity in liquidation or bankruptcy. Moving on, Part 21, 501c organization. Part 22, nonprofit organization. Part 23, publicly traded NFFE. Part 24, accepted territory NFFE. Part 25, active NFFE. Part 26, passive NFFE. Part 27, accepted inter-affiliate FFI. Part 28, sponsored direct reporting NFFE. Part 29, substantial U.S. owners of a passive NFFE. Part 30, certification. So I'm just giving you a clear idea about what to expect. Again, you can pause the video and really see what you want to really pay attention to. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form W-8BEN-E. Let me give you the overview about this form here. It's really important to really understand that you want to actually the objective here about the form is to determine the status of foreign entities for U.S. tax withholding and reporting, and so the IRS actually requires this form. And one thing I want to say here is that the form actually is a declaration of the entity's eligibility for treaty benefits or exemptions from withholding tax under the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code. So the purpose here is pretty simple, okay? To collect essential information from foreign entities to determine their eligibility for preferential tax treaty rates, exemptions, or reductions. So by submitting this form, entities certify their beneficial ownership status and claim the benefits provided by relevant tax treaties. And so the thing is, when we talk about the IRS in terms of Form W-8BEN-E, this is a form that enables the agency to identify the foreign entity, ascertain its eligibility for treaty benefits, and establish the appropriate withholding tax. So the withholding tax rate. And this form is also critical because it aids in ensuring compliance with tax regulations and reporting requirements, thereby facilitating accurate tax withholding and reporting on income derived from U.S. sources. And the thing is that the connection, the nexus, if you will, has to be related to the U.S. territory. Okay. And one thing I want to say here is that when we talk about this form, it's the kind of form you saw, like the long list of entities that are basically subject to this form. So all kinds of entities, profits, non-profit, they will need to file. If you are dealing with them, you might need to file a W-8BEN-E, and at the end of the year. But if you have any question, please again let us know in the comment section so we can really dig a little deeper and answer your questions, especially if you want to go as granular as possible. I want to talk about filling out the Form W-8BEN-E. It's important to really understand that you want to use the most recent version of the form, and it's just better to go to the IRS websites and ensure that it is properly downloaded and printed. And so complete the form using black ink and print legibly to avoid misinterpretation of the information provided. You cannot file this form electronically. So right now, the tax software that we know that we have, the 23 or 24 tax software tools that we have evaluated, they do not allow you to file this form electronically. So Tax Act, TurboTax, H&R Block, Justin Hewitt, and so on and so forth. And so when we talk about the identification of the beneficial owner, we're talking about the organization actually that ultimately benefits from the arrangements. Okay. And one thing I want to say also is that Part 2 relates to a disregarded entity and branch or the branch receiving the payments. Part 3 is if you are claiming tax treaty benefits. Part 4 is actually a series of certifications that are really important. But the most important thing I want to really focus on is the supporting documentation. So depending on the circumstances, you may need to attach additional documentation to support your claim, such as a tax residency certificate or other required forms, and it's one of those things where you always want to review the instructions provided with the Form W-8BEN-E for detailed guidance or anything else that you might want to catch up on. And because the laws change all the time and the IRS updates instructions. So one thing I want you to really remember here is that we are basically if you are in doubt, please let us know in the comment section. And whenever you ask a question, please always tell us the city and state you're commenting from, so we know a little bit of context when it comes to geography. And also, if need be, just reach out to a tax expert, somebody who really understands the tax laws and can really advise you a lot further. One thing I want to say here is that when we talk about W-8BEN-E in general, it's so complex. The laws are so complex that it really depends on every single situation. We've seen cases where a Form W-8BEN-E that related to a nonprofit is totally different than one that relates to a C corporation, for example. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form W-8BEN-E. Let me talk to you about the implications and considerations here. So when we talk about Form W-8BEN-E, there are certain things you need to really know about. So first of all, you have tax treaty benefits, you have reporting requirements, and you have also something that's really important, the validity and the renewal of the form. Okay, now let's talk first about the tax treaty benefits. So by completing Form W-8BEN-E and claiming, let's say, tax treaty benefits, foreign entities can potentially reduce or eliminate the amount of U.S. withholding tax imposed on their income from U.S. sources. So tax treaties often establish lower withholding rates on specific types of income, such as dividends, interest, and royalties. However, to claim tax treaty benefits, entities must meet the eligibility criteria outlined in the applicable tax treaty and provide accurate information on Form W-8BEN-E. That's why this form becomes so quintessential. So it's actually crucial to review the specific provisions of the relevant tax treaty and consult with tax advisors to basically include all of the information that you need for your particular situation. And you also want to maximize the benefits available. So that's for the tax treaty benefits. What about reporting requirements? So while Form W-8BEN-E helps establish eligibility for reduced withholding rates, it doesn't eliminate reporting obligations. So foreign entities that receive U.S. income and claim tax treaty benefits are generally required to file annual tax returns with the IRS. So the reporting requirements may vary depending on the nature of the income and the tax treaty provisions. So it's really important for entities to understand their reporting obligations, maintain proper documentation, and comply with any additional filing requirements imposed by the IRS or their home country. And in terms of validity and renewal, well, unless a change in circumstances makes this information on the form erroneous, Form W-8BEN-E is typically valid from the date it is signed until the last day of the third subsequent calendar year. So, entities should actually review and renew their Form W-8BEN-E within 30 days of any change in circumstances that affects their eligibility for treaty benefits or the accuracy of the information previously provided. And by failure to actually update or renew the form may result in the withholding agent treating the entity as a non-resident alien, subject to higher withholding tax rates. I want to talk to you about deadlines and due dates for submitting this form, okay? And so for submitting Form W-8BEN-E, the deadlines are pretty straightforward. It really depends, those deadlines depend on the circumstances. So let me give you a few scenarios. So in terms of a few scenarios here, so in terms of the initial submission, so foreign entities that are subject to withholding and are not yet documented typically submit Form W-8BEN-E to the withholding agent before the first payment subject to withholding. So that's for the initial submission. And then you have the expiration. So the validity of Form W-8BEN-E generally expires after 3 years. I just said that. So the entity must provide an updated form to the withholding agent before the expiration date to continue claiming the reduced or exempt withholding rates. Then you have a change in circumstances. This is another important element to keep in mind. So if there is a change in circumstances that makes any information on the previously submitted form incorrect, the entity must provide an updated form within 30 days of the change. Now let's talk about common mistakes and pitfalls. So when we talk about the form W-8BEN-E, there are some mistakes you need to really stay away from. First of all, inaccurate or incomplete information. So it's one of those things where you want to make sure things are complete. So it's crucial to ensure that all the required fields are filled out correctly and that the information provided aligns with the official records and supporting documentation. Inaccurate or incomplete information can lead to delays in processing, rejection of the form, or imposition of higher withholding tax rates. So to avoid these issues, you want to carefully review the instructions and seek professional advice when necessary, all the time. And also you have a failure to update or renew. So entities must promptly update their form W-8BEN-E in the event of any changes that affect their eligibility or the accuracy of the information provided. And by failure to do so, failure to update the form within the required time frame can result in adverse consequences, including the withholding agent applying a higher tax rate, withholding tax rate, or rejecting the claim for tax treaty benefits. So it's one of those things where the burden is on you. I want to talk to you about the best practices for collecting W-8BEN-E forms. I mean, if you're listening to me and you are on the other side of the equation, so the collecting of crucial documents relating to W-8BEN-E forms can be streamlined in the following methods, which help ensure that all foreign organizations are covered, right? So the potential of legal issues is increased and accuracy can suffer with manual collecting. You want to automate things. And so the form W-8BEN-E is a complicated document. You saw that with numerous sections. So a business should use online quizzes and other technological tools to make sure that payees accurately complete all forms. You want to use automated technologies to check all tax forms and data. And you want to use software that automatically keeps track of any new rules, legislation, or limits, as well as the most recent updates to tax laws. So this is important in terms of automating the process, the W-8BEN-E process. So it's one of those things where you want to really be in a situation where you are able to conduct due diligence on each supplier to establish the correct W-8 information. Accurately gathering, you can gather all necessary data without requiring manual entry. Determine the precise withholding obligations based on the entity's status. And make sure all W-8 forms are completed completely and accurately. So you really want to go there. You want to really think about automation here because everything here has the potential to turn into a nightmare with just a little bit of problems or carelessness. So when you automate everything, you are good to go because you can use cloud-based communications to improve visibility and streamline workflow while dealing with vendors. Better supplier connections and the potential for early payment reductions result from this. You are able to reduce the amount of time and resources wasted so that they can be put to better use. You can make sure that each W-8BEN-E form is correctly completed to eliminate any concerns about audit risks and or IRS penalties. You want to prevent vendor payment delays brought on by incorrect W-8 forms. And when asking payments, automatically deduct the 30% tax rate to avoid the need for incorrect withholdings, erroneous collections, or last-minute adjustments. So it's one of those things where the burden is on you, okay? So you want to, if you are dealing with foreign entities, conducting business or investments in the United States, you got to have the proper documentation in place so that if you are ever audited, you already are well covered. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Let me quickly do a recap of today's conversation. So I was just talking to you about form W-8BEN-E. And so I give you the approach, the overview, And right now, I'm giving you the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.